As data protection regulations, ways of working, and environmental concerns continue to evolve, managing end-of-life data compliance can become labor-intensive, costly, and complex. And falling short leads to regulatory and reputational risk. With more devices accessing your on-prem, hybrid, and cloud networks from remote locations, and cyber attacks on the rise, using certified methods to sanitize your data as it moves beyond the physical level into logical and virtual environments is critical to reduce your attack surface. Likewise, sanitizing data allows safe and secure device reuse, while physically destroying functional assets needlessly adds to a growing mountain of electronic waste, undermining environmental, social, and corporate governance initiatives. Whether directly or through our global partner ecosystem, Blanco offers the most comprehensive, scalable approach to erasing data and provides proof that it's been done correctly.
Can you hear me? All right, so I think this is a session just before the lunch. Always these sessions are when you have consumed as much as you could, and then there's another session. And I want to ensure that this session becomes as useful to you as possible, and so I've decided to approach it in a slightly different way. So before we start, I don't think this is a difficult guess, but can anyone guess which road this is? That's right, it is. So my name is Anurag, I'm from Pune. I just took this road yesterday and I'll be taking it again today as well. We've been listening and talking a lot about security for the past 3-4 hours. There's a very important risk which is here as well. The risk is that of an accident which could be fatal or which could have injuries. It is obviously a physical risk and a risk which we can learn from. So typically, how we would approach this session is we would learn the fundamental aspects of risk, maybe understand that for 2-3 minutes, and then take that approach into the digital infrastructure and figure out if we can maybe utilize some concepts there. So to move ahead, to control this risk, all the cars today, most of the cars, they have a lot of security features. Minimum any car which you all would have traveled to this event in a car, there would be at least 20 plus features, and that increases based on the level of the car. Now, the important thing is, this is similar to how we have to implement information security infrastructure in our organizations as well. You have many choices to make, but it is very important to identify which is a fundamental choice, which are those top 3-5 things which you want to do. And in case of security, one of the choices is a seat belt. Unfortunately, everyone knows this, that wearing a seat belt on all the 4 seats can be a difference between life and death if, God forbid, that time comes. But how many of us do put it when we are sitting, especially in the back seat? I had asked this question 3-4 months back as well in a similar audience, and it was just one hand which had been raised. And this is some data which is from MORTH, which is the Ministry of Road and Transport of Highways of India. And it says that 11.5% of fatal accidents, car accidents, happen because the seatbelt was not there. I mean, the accidents happen and fatalities lead because the seatbelt was not there. And that's a staggering percentage. I mean, if 12% of people, they could have saved their lives only if the seatbelt was put on, but still people have to be forced and there have to be penalties to do it. It's similar to how we approach our information security environment. We know some things are risky, but then the compliances have to be there for you to be forced to do that. Now, again, going back to the seatbelt story, this is just a bit of a graph. We thought it, because I feel so strongly about it, I talk about how seatbelts should be worn. And typically, the idea is that you wear it from this section, it's diagonal. This is one part, and the other part is not on your stomach, but on your legs. Again, you can check this when you are going home today. That's not how it is. Secondly, the way to check it is just pull it a bit, in an impactful way, and whether it is getting stuck. Because if you pull it slowly, then obviously the seatbelt allows you to do that. Now, these are points of not just putting a seatbelt for compliance, but doing it properly so that you're secure. There's a difference between just doing something and doing it properly. And that's what the message is, that you have to not just do something, but try to do it properly so that it is also obviously helping with your compliance, but also with InfoSec. Now, the learnings, I have already said, identify your fundamentals. We identified what the fundamental was there and implement that fundamental properly. Now, coming to the point of what fundamental risk we are going to talk on the information security today. This is the security perimeter of your organization. Just to simulate that risk, you can see that you would have a lot of offices, a lot of assets. Of course, the people are there in between. You have a data center, a cloud infrastructure, and your devices are moving. They are transitioning either outside or they are moving internally to some reasons. There are data migrations which are happening. And when these things are happening, there is a high likelihood that there is going to be a risk of data remnants. So to put simply, data remnants is when you tried to get the data erased, but it was not erased. And this, believe it or not, it is a very common situation that you would have a certain method of destroying data. All of your organizations would have some method, maybe the outsourced vendor is doing it, but whether that is leading to some data remnants is the question to ask, because this is a fundamental risk. And in defining in terms of use cases, the end-of-life devices, when the devices are end-of-life, it going outside is very obvious. When the device is being resold in the secondary market, when the employee is moving, I leave an organization, and now my device is going to be associated to someone else. Again, the data has to be erased before that happens, because what is the use of having access control if the device is going with data to some other person? And the maintenance of devices. When a laptop needs repair, it is going outside. So these are the typical use cases, and these are the common solutions which most of the organizations whom I speak to already have for this problem. The solutions are either you format, lower level format, you physically destroy, degauss. Some of them also store the hard drives. They say that I have a disposal vendor, he'll pick up the devices, and for security, I will remove the hard drive which has the data on it and store it into a storeroom. And in some cases, which is a very unfortunate answer, is that the InfoSec team is not aware of the details, because it is looked more like a disposal situation than an InfoSec situation. But I think we have already established that fact. So now if I go into the details, why are these methods not enough? Formatting, I don't think in this crowd I need to tell that data is recoverable through a formatting way. But what about lower level formatting? Lower level formatting is where, if done properly, it is going to overwrite the entire hard drive, thus making the underlying data unrecoverable. But there are a few challenges with this. The first challenge is it does not verify. For example, lower level formatting, if you're doing for a 2 TB hard drive before it is going outside your organization, it's going to take maybe 10, 12 hours. So a person would start it at night and probably see if it's completed. But there is no way for you to check whether it is got completed, because there is no stamp or no milestone achieved after the lower level formatting gets completed. So you don't verify whether the job which you started is actually completed or not. It does not have any certificate. The lower level format does not have a certificate. So with the DPDP being discussed, again, erasure is a very important aspect. If you just search into the draft that is mentioned, and that says that you should have a proof. You can't just say that I have a way, but I can't prove you, because that doesn't work in audit and compliance. And it is, of course, as I mentioned, 10, 12 hours, it's a very time-consuming process. The other option which some of the organizations would have is to physically destroy, or something called as degaussing. These are two different aspects, but essentially when you try to do it, you are destroying the hard drive completely, meaning you cannot reuse it. And when that happens, if we compare how this method of destroying data is helping us in different use cases, it will just help you when the end of life of the device has reached. You cannot resell, you cannot reuse, you cannot donate the hard drive. The CSR activities cannot be done because the hard drive is completely destroyed. Plus, if you try to do it with the changing environment, by changing environment, I mean SSDs coming into the scenario, which are much more costly. You don't just want to destroy SSD, because if that happens, then you're losing on the revenue front as well in terms of the value of the hard drive. So this aspect of physical destruction may be okay if you're doing end of life only, but again, it's not something which you could trust. And this also leads to another problem, which is that of sustainability. Can you keep doing this process for hundreds and thousands and lakhs and crores of hard drives? Because this problem, although I don't see it is being discussed much, but globally, if you see 106x, which means 106 times of Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, that is the amount of digital e-waste, basically e-waste generated in 2021. This is from global e-waste. And you can be rest assured that if a country like India with so heavy volumes still keeps on physically destroying the data, that's a big issue. So we established why lower level format and why physical destruction are not good. The third one is that of storing, and it's a very obvious answer. What about you store a hard drive and it gets lost? How long are you going to store it? What if the custodians change, the people who are supposed to take care? Also, you're paying the cost of maintenance of that particular infrastructure, the physical space, the security. And the question is, if you have an option to take care of the risk without storing it, then why consider storing? So storing, in my opinion, I think, people would have different opinions, but in my opinion, this is not a very good option because you're keeping the risk with you. You're not eliminating it. And this one, where I think we get the answers that I'm not sure what is happening. Maybe the disposal team is handling it. It is actually, similar to this image. Since the resolution is not good, I'll just take a minute to explain it. What has happened is that the person who was basically the statue or the mannequin who was behind seat, the seatbelt was not put on. So when the accident happened, the head came up and he sort of went into the front seat. So in my opinion, I'm not sure is an answer which basically this image explains. I don't have to say much on that. And I will go ahead and give some more data on why I say on the previous slide. We had done a very interesting study on a few years back. So what we had done is we had purchased 159 to be specific, old hard drives on eBay. Blanco purchased these hard drives. We did not know what was going to be there. And then we tried to work with a recovery vendor to recover data. And these are the stats. We can give you more data on it if required. But out of 159, more than 40%, 42% of data or 42% of the hard drives had some data on it. This data was, in most cases, data which was official, not personal or basically company-related, corporate-related data. And out of these 66, 25 had PII data. So when you have a vendor who comes to you just as a disposal vendor, I think it's fine to go with that approach, but you have to be ensured that that person is not just giving you an e-waste certificate, because this is not an e-waste problem, this is a security problem. And then you have that as a guarantee that, okay, the devices are being taken, but it's not that the person is selling off the devices, because commercially it is better for him to sell that hard drive off for 500,000 and 2,000-3,000 in case of a SSD than to destroy it, because after he destroys, the value becomes 20 rupees. So, it's just plain logic. So this is the study which we had done, which justifies that point. And what I've discussed till now are different ways of improperly doing this data sanitization. So in short, basically, I discussed how not to wear a seatbelt. And I'll take the next 4-5 minutes to talk about how to wear, how to basically do the things, what are the right things. So here I would just, introduce who we are. So like I mentioned, my name is Anurag from Pune. I represent Blanco Technology Group, who are the biggest data sanitation company in the world. We've done about 300 crore erasures in the past 2.5 decades. So there is enough testing and usability of the software. We are also the most certified software, meaning Blanco has been tested and used the most for any other data erasure company in the world in the last 2.5 decades. And how does Blanco solve this problem? I'm going to end with this. So basically, first point, we see this problem as a data perspective. Typically, when we talk to any organization, they will think that, okay, I have laptop, desktop, I have server, I have a few. That's not okay. Are you okay if the data is lost from a pen drive, but it's not lost from a desktop, laptop? Data is data. So we have solutions which are going to cater to all type of devices, and we have a system around it. Data to destroy data across all the type of devices. The system, the process rather, is something which value adds, or the value addition which we get. So this is going to be a bit of a complicated and technical slide, so I'll request to have your focus just for the next 30 seconds. Is this. So I talked about Blanco Data Erasure Platform. Basically, all the products which target specific devices is what I meant. So you can erase desktop, laptops, servers, cloud environments, files, folders, logical units, pen drives, printers, anything which is storing digital data. This will generate an erasure report, and this erasure report will automatically get uploaded onto a central console. This central console will further talk to your ITSM, which is your IT asset management system. where it will say that, okay, in the ITSM we have 20,000 devices, out of which 3,000 had to be disposed of, and here is a proof which has come through the system. It's not that some vendor is given, because you want it to be a trustable process. And then we also can integrate the system with a ticket management system, maybe a ServiceNow, or we could also schedule the erasures. Plus, in terms of audit management, you don't have to run here and there to find where is my proof, do I even have a proof? So that's not a problem, because you could directly give the access to the central management system to the auditor. So that's how it works, and this is the output. This is the erasure report which is generated. And this, the way it looks in a real life scenario is this. We did a case study with Microsoft. They had given us a challenge to erase 24,000 drives, which were, I think, 4 TB, 6 TB, 1 TB each. And the point was to test how scalable Blanco was. We could erase these 24,000 drives for a Microsoft data center within 10 hours. You can never achieve that with a hammer. And hammer is not something which you could even trust. So this is what I think I went to the previous slide. So that's it. I wanted to complete it in time. So the message is that, of course, wear the seatbelt, but not just yourself, also for your IT assets, because it's important that even they are protected from any breaches which may happen. Yeah, thank you.